Hey guys, in today's episode, we discuss some current trends in our local league.
Welcome to the Coach and Commish podcast. No, not Adam Gase, and definitely not Roger Goodell. It's Chris and Sean breaking down fantasy football for the everyday man.
Welcome back. You are here with the Coach at Commish. I'm Chris, Sean to my right, and we're talking 757 news here today. And we want to hit a couple of topics that really mean a lot to our local league. And I think this also goes to a ton of other listeners that aren't part of the local league. But Commish, are current injuries really affecting our league standings? In our 757 league, we got a lot of injuries to the running back position. Do you see that? If you look at teams right now, if they had their running backs, they would be much better than they are currently at.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true every year. I mean, injuries affect fantasy football. Probably the biggest factor is, I would say that in the NFL as well. The healthiest team oftentimes can make it to the Super Bowl and win it because when you have all your pieces, it's a lot easier to win. That comes into depth if you've created a team that has enough depth, but sometimes you just get hit so hard there's nothing you can do. I think I look at like Daniel. Daniel to me is the one who's really gotten hit with it hard. Eckler's kind of been in and out of the lineup. Losing Chris Carson, that really hurt. Now it looks like Calvin Ridley's retiring all of the sudden.
Yeah.
He's had a bad run of it, and I believe he was going to be a lot better of a team if none of that happened. So that's how I would say it's affected ours. But it's the way it goes. You got to, move on, find trades. I look at like David at the beginning of the year. He's, we'll talk about how we kind of fluctuate in our standings because we have a lot of guys bottled up in the middle there, but he's still in the fight after losing his Gus Edwards there. And I think kind of trades have helped him do that. So,
And what position obviously hurts the most in fantasy football on your roster?
I mean, it's cliche and it's the easy answer, but it's the right one, and it's running back because it's hard to replace. In some regards, you may say that it's a little easier to replace because you have a defined backup, and oftentimes you can go get him on the waiver wire. Unfortunately, we're in a league where that doesn't happen.
No.
And everybody's rostering all these handcuffs. So, I mean, we're only a 12-team league, yet we seem to have some people that can see the future here. I'm talking to you there, Joe, who knew that his Christian McCaffrey would go out and grab Chuba Hubbard, and then now he's just grabbed McNichols right before Henry's gone down. So yeah. I think it's just a really tough one to pick up off the waiver wire and feel good about a player that you can start unless it's that handcuff. And then of course you can kind of spend up if you need them.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult, but you can still stay in it when running backs go down or key players you picked high on draft night. But injuries really do affect your team. Health matters in fantasy football. The other thing I want to talk about here is what the world is going on with Fab Trading. Is Fab Trading worth it?
So, yeah, I think I was talking with somebody else about this, and I actually really like it. I don't know why we didn't. I think it was funny before because it was just that cliche thing to throw in that Fab. But where I see it actually being useful is in the case of get some Fab for guys you want to drop. A lot of the times you can find somebody who's none the wiser that you're going to drop this guy, or you may even tell him, hey, I'm going to drop this guy. If you don't want to spend the 15 to 20 it's going to cost on the waiver wire, we're in a 200 budget league, so that'd be probably more like 5 or 10 in your league. We need to do that. We need to go to the real way.
Yeah.
I mean, we were too scared of the Fab, so we started with 400, went to 200. We need to go to the 100. But anyways, yeah, I think it's a great way that if you're going to drop somebody, that you can kind of get a little something for them, and they can kind of beat the waiver wire and put, here, I'll give you 5 and not have to spend the 10 that was going to go. As far as in a real trade, I have in some situations done it. I think it does make sense sometimes. Like me and the Royce had one. He wanted Chenault. Oh, no, I think he gave me Chenault, but I told him I was going to drop him anyways. And so I was like, well, I'll give you a little bit of Fab. You can pick him up if that's the deal breaker. So I think sometimes it can help be that little bit of extra. As far as, this is a terrible thing to say on our podcast that everyone listens to in our league, but as far as what I believe is the best strategy for it, I don't think trading for it is good for your team in most regards. Like, there's been a couple trades that I've, done it, but I think it's probably getting the players is more important than getting the Fab.
Yeah, so like we just had a trade go on with Joe and Phil here. So Bass, the kicker, I know you hate kickers, but he's the best in the league right now. Trade for 4 Fab. It's a pretty good move, picking him up that way, because if we saw Bass get cut, some of us would be spending 10 plus.
Not me.
If kicker is something that you really want that edge. A double-digit kicker like a coup of yesteryears can win you some games down the stretch here. So that's an incident where I see Fab trading used really, really well. Like there's that one key guy. I don't know if they were planning on dropping Bass, which I don't understand. Why you keep moving kickers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Fab trading's been ridiculous. We laughed at it, but now it's making more sense.
Yep.
All right, so from there, let's talk about some players in our league. That's why you guys listen anyways. You want to hear your name. And I want to talk about the second place team in the league right now, and that's Andy, the out-of-towner.
Soul Juice himself.
Can Soul Juice's lineup give him his first playoff berth in our league? Do you believe he can gut it out all the way to be a top 6 into the playoffs, Sean?
Yeah, I think that's legitimately a good shot. If I had to put betting odds on it, I would put it at higher than 50% that Andy makes the playoffs this year. His roster is good. AJ Brown, finally seems to be over that injury. He is balling right now. They're going to need him even more with Derrick Henry going down. Matthew Stafford has been fantastic. I don't see that going away. Josh Jacobs been a little disappointing, but I honestly think for the second half of the year, he's a pretty good running back to have. Saquon is going to come back at some point. And if he's his old self, then that's just a huge boost to his team that he hasn't even been using. I liked the Darrell Williams pickup last week. It didn't really pan out as we played this week out. But I don't know. Deontay Johnson is another. Talk about a great wide receiver too. And then, losing Robinson hurts, but they're starting to downplay that injury, so I think he'll be back. So I really do like Andy's team. He's got Pitts, and that's another. If he continues to develop now with no Calvin Ridley, you could be talking about Pitts being one of those kind of top 5 guys easily.
Now, here's a challenge for you. He is a Broncos fan. He's got Sutton sitting at the flex. Mm-hmm. All right. You got Brandon Cooks there sitting on your bench. Ton of volume. He's getting points for you. But then you also go Goddard and Pitts. Would you tell him, hey, take Sutton off, play a double tight end lineup, or play Cooks roll with it's almost we got Pitts and Goddard right now. You're like, I want to lean Pitts on the upside, but Goddard's also a touchdown machine whenever Fields does get in the red zone.
Yeah.
That might be a tough lineup issue he might
It's going to be a matchup thing. They're all interchangeable, I would say. I prefer Sutton as far as if I had to lock one in rest of season. I think the Sutton is a great flex to have in there. I don't think the Judy thing kills Sutton's value. I think he still continues to be a great option. As far as the tight ends go, I think Pitts will see more volume now with Calvin out. There is a little bit of fear that maybe Calvin was the piece that made that offense go. They looked really bad last week.
Awful without him.
So maybe if they don't have him to kind of take the defense away, then maybe it is more difficult for Pitts, and then Goddard is a great option to go to. But I generally am not going to suggest starting the tight end as their flex unless you've got 2 really great ones, which he may. So
yeah, it was a weird matchup there. Sutton only getting 4 targets against the Washington, and then you had Goddard getting 7 targets and Pitts getting 6. So he's going to be looking at it, if he looks at it from a opportunity standpoint, when you see so many guys getting targeted, he might want to flip it there. But I feel it was like a really weird game for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Going against Washington. It was ugly.
So I'll put Andy's chances at 65%. He makes the playoffs.
Ooh.
What is Chris? What is your odds?
My odds is I like him. I would put him as a lock. I put him 100% making the top 6. I like his team.
Yeah.
I really do like how his team is being played out, and he's got some depth there. We talked about a
I think that's where he
conundrum.
often in the past has struggled is the depth, and kind of he burns out after those first few weeks when he starts to lose some players. But he's built a good bench here, I think.
Yeah, a phenomenal bench there. Now let's look at the champ, man. I mean, not the champ, the number one team in our league.
Foreshadowing
Serenity
here?
by Jan. I don't know. This could be his year, but Phil, can he finish in first place, undefeated, come playoff time?
So you want to talk about a lock? I'm pretty sure he's locked into a first place finish.
Yes.
Not yet, but it's looking pretty good. As far as undefeated, I'm gonna take the field on that one. I think somebody will get him on a week. You just got to wait for that Cooper Cup week to go on by, and then his team is done. No, I'm just kidding. He's got a lot of great
Seems
players.
like it. Like, jeez.
But yeah, no, somebody will get him, and because he's got to win 2 games a week. I think eventually either he'll either hit a matchup to where he'll lose, or his team won't perform quite as well, and even if he plays a down team, then he won't get that median win. So at some point, Phil will lose.
Yeah, it's that the running back spot's hurting him, but the receivers he has are phenomenal, and that's what's putting him above everyone. And then what Connor and Swift get are bonus points.
Connor, man, I don't get it.
But he's also
You told me that Connor and Swift would be, I think they're probably both top 10 running backs right now, and he's got them in there. Yeah, I can't believe it.
And if you look at it, I mean, he's got also McNichols. He's got McNichols.
No, he doesn't.
Right?
Joe.
It shows on his bench, unless they traded there. I see.
I thought Joe had McNichols.
No, I got
Maybe
McNichols on Phil's team.
Oh, I'm totally missing that.
I'll take a look there. Maybe you got it from the Dynasty and the regular, but in the fantasy in our 757 league, I got McNichols on
In
Phil's
Dynasty,
team.
I have McNichols.
That's true, you do. Yeah, but McNichols on
Joe,
the bench for
hit me up.
Phil. So that could be a volume
Okay.
part that gives him depth pressing forward. I think this guy can go undefeated, because even if those receivers are ridiculous. Lamar is on a bye this week, so then he survives this week with a good quarterback. It's injuries will hurt him, but if his lineup stays healthy, he is pretty stout.
All right.
So I'm like Santa. I'm just giving everyone playoff chances. Maybe it's because I'm so out of it.
Yeah.
I just want to think about playoffs here. So let's talk about Leroyce, Jedi Master Leroyce. The guy comes from like 11th place a couple of weeks ago to 4, right?
I think
top 6 at least. Now,
yeah, he's 4th overall now.
how did Leroyce use his Jedi mind tricks to execute these crazy trades that we thought was him selling, and then he would sell and then he would buy?
Yeah.
Sell, buy. And now look, he's in the top half of the league.
I don't think that he was selling. I think that he was. Honestly, I just saw it as he loves trading, which I don't blame the man. It is quite the thrill to be trading all these pieces
If you ask
back
me
and forth.
and Daniel, fantasy trading is about as best as it get over some life things.
But he always when he made his trades, he kept a good piece inside of each one. So it's not like he was just selling the farm, like you said, to get somebody. So, I mean, look, his roster here looks pretty fantastic. His quarterback, who is his quarterback? Is it? He must have somebody on bye.
Yeah, somebody on a buy. I've been trying to sell him one of my backup QBs.
Oh, maybe not. So if you're starting Carson Wentz, that's his downfall right now. But he has Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, CeeDee Lamb, Marquise Brown, Gesicki, that's fine. Gaskin in the flex, that's kind of hard right now. But he's also got Judy, who might end up doing well. Yeah, I mean, he is where he is, but I'd put him as a bubble team. I like Andy's roster a lot better.
Okay. I mean, he's like taking advantage of favorable matchups. He took care of David this week, where Kyler gets 9 points.
Yeah.
Zeke gets 9 points. Like it's 102. Usually you don't win with a 102 score. Ask me.
Yeah.
All right. You don't win with a 102, but when your opponent scores 66 or whatever it was, you do roll over into a W. So,
but let that be a lesson to you non-traders. You can do it.
You can do it.
Trade your way into the top 4.
Yeah. All right. From there, let's go to the Kalana brothers. They are right now
Are
sitting.
you including Matt in there as well?
No, not brother-in-laws. Well, he's right below.
He
But
is.
let's talk about David and Daniel. Sitting
All right.
around 7 and 8 right now in the league, or 8 and 9. They're right in the middle.
They're 8 and 9.
8 and 9.
And then 10 with the Meat Prince.
Meat Prince. So all three are there. Let's throw him in. He's a Kalana. Are these Kalana brothers? Mm-hmm. Is this where we expect them to be for the remainder of the year, or are their teams just underperforming? Are their players just not getting it done, or are their rosters really showing bottom half results here?
So David is one that I think doesn't deserve to be where he's at. He will make the playoffs, in my opinion. He's a great manager, and he's got Kyler Murray, Zeke, and Diggs. With those three pieces, I don't really care what the rest of your roster is. Things are going to turn out for him. Mm-hmm. So Higbee's not a bad option. Claypool, I think, is going to only get better. Dearness Johnson, that's not going to be somebody you can start every week. But he does have Boston Scott now he can throw in there. Antonio Brown, if he's ever fully healthy again, that's, I think, a big piece that he's been missing. Kind of have that boom bust in your lineup is kind of nice. As that kind of NOS button for your team. So I think David is definitely one that can make a change there.
What about Daniel?
Daniel here, we're looking. Prescott, that's really hurt him with him not playing this week. Eckler, he's really got to find an RB2 if Carson really isn't going to come back, and that's really where he's been struggling. Mitchell, he's hurt again here, but if he plays, I think he's somebody who can probably get by with. And then DJ Moore, he's kind of gone down. He started hot, hasn't been so hot lately, probably due to Sam Darnold being a train wreck lately. And then Robert Woods has actually been a surprise lately. He's kind of stepped things up in the offense.
Now the back end of his bench here, he's got Michael Thomas and Calvin Ridley, guys who don't look like they're coming back. We are in a keeper league, so there's some value to these names. Would you suggest Daniel? If he wants to make a playoff run here with the uncertainty of these two guys, if he wants to make a push, try trading away these pieces?
Absolutely. I think that, Ridley, there's going to be a lot of different views on it. My view is I'm viewing him as done for the season. Like, if you, I'm putting it at a 80% chance that he's gone for season. So if I'm not keeping him, which you probably aren't thinking about that, then I would be for sure seeing what I could get, seeing if somebody does think there's a chance he comes back. Same thing with Michael Thomas. I kind of did that with him. I traded for Julio because I was like, once we got to the point where Michael Thomas could play and there started to be, we'll see, maybe next week. He's not really ready to practice. I'm like, I'm not playing this game. Like we did this last year with Michael Thomas, and I don't want it on my roster. So yeah, I would trade those pieces to make a run because I think this team is good enough to do that.
I like that. And if you can flip that for just – it seems like a constant thing here, but a running back depth or an RB2, these guys are big enough names. So somebody that's out of it like me might trade for them.
And then you got the Meat Prince here. We got to make sure we give him a little bit of a shout out here. His team isn't that awful, but I do think he's one that
I like how you said that.
Kind of deserves to be
the
here.
way you said it. Isn't that awful?
Isn't that awful?
Not that bad, or isn't that awful?
I mean, honestly, I thought it was worse when he started the season out, but having Mike Williams was a huge piece for him, and Leonard Fournette's turned out great. Cordell Patterson, he's kind of lucked into some of these pieces. I mean, maybe he foresaw Mike Williams as the amazing top 5 wide receiver he's been, but
now he's always injured. Now we see the Mike Williams that we've always expected. Yeah. So out of those three, you're thinking David could make that push to be
I think
back
David,
in the top 6.
Yep, I say David is the one that is most likely to make the playoffs. I say Daniel, if he makes some moves, would be able to do that easily. And then Meat Prince, I'm unfortunately going to say, doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, but if you look at the rest of the standings, it really flip-flops. Some of the guys moved down 8 spots. Last week, Morgan was at 2nd.
Yep.
And he's dropping almost at 7, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's down at 7.
And so,
oh no, I'm sorry, he's 6th.
6. Yep. So he drops down 4 spots.
Yep. And I did it the week before. I was at, I think at one point I was at the 2 or 3 spot, and I went down out of the playoffs at 7. And it's like,
but if there's 2 things you guys can trust in this league, is that Phil's at number 1 and I am at number 12. Everything else keeps moving around, but Phil and I will we'll make sure you guys have those constants. Okay.
Yeah. He's
1 and 12. I lose for you guys because I know you worry about who's down there in the cellar. I'll be down there. I'll be at the basement holding it down.
You have been, yeah.
Yeah. So if you want the number 1 pick next year, look for trades from me. Okay. Anything else, Commish, for the 757 podcast?
I don't think so. I've been enjoying it, guys. It's been fun. I know it's rough for Mr. Cellar Dweller over here, but
it's been terrible.
I've been enjoying this year, and I'm coming for you, Phil. I still think I got a shot this year. So.
Oh man! All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. There. If you got some other topics, especially for our league mates that you want us to talk about, like you did today, get that out there before Tuesday, and we'll make sure we talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, because we're not doing any more work for this. You guys got to do the prep work.
Yeah.
We're doing this for you. So
we are. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Coach and Commish podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Coach and Commish. And join our Facebook group called Fantasy Football Advice with the Coach and Commish for direct access to weekly waiver wire and start sit advice.